Welcome to Webinar for Busy Lawyers. We are so glad that you're here with us today. My name is Laura. I'm one of the Law Practice Management Advisors at LCL Mass LoMap. And if this is your first time joining us, this is our first webinar for Busy Lawyers of 2024. We're so glad you're here.
Yay.
We have these every month with practical takeaways on a number of topics. This is a number of free confidential services we do for legal professionals in Massachusetts. I am delighted today, both with our host and with our topic. We have the fantastic Emily Amara Gordon with us. She is our expert speaker, and she's going to be talking to us about one of our favorite joint subjects, which is tech, and how you can lean more into it. To give you a bit of a background on Emily, she's the founder and principal immigration attorney at Amara Law, LLC. She focuses on special immigrant juvenile status cases, family-based immigration, and immigration cases with a criminal law component. She's the chair of the American Bar Association Law Practice Division's Membership Engagement Outreach Committee, chair of the ABA LTRC's Subcommittee on AI, sits on the ALA National Innovation and Technology Committee and Product Ideation Subcommittee. Boston Magazine recognized her as a top lawyer in immigration law in 2023. She has been named a Super Lawyers Rising Star for 6 consecutive years. Emily has spoken about legal tech and the future law practice at ABA Tech Show, ABA Women of Legal Tech, and the ALA Annual Conference. And after running her tech forward law practice for 10 years, so I'm very excited with this, Emily launched a consulting business, Amara Innovation, where she helps lawyers implement innovative solutions to future-proof their law firms and build a positive and productive law firm culture. So, Emily, we are so glad to have you with us today and to learn more about tech. For those of you that are with us, if you want to type questions into the chat, we're going to have Emily give her presentation first and then get to questions afterwards. Emily, I will leave it to you to take it away. And thank you so much for being here with us, everyone.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you to LCL LoMap and everyone who's here. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I can't proceed without thanking LoMap for all they've done for me over the years. When I started my career, one of the first things I did is I sat down with LoMap and I got some help in writing my first fee agreement. And that template is something that I use today. And I will put in a little buzzword for templates because we'll be talking about that in the document automation section. So I encourage everyone, if you haven't already, if you're in Massachusetts, to take advantage of the wonderful services, Luce and Laura, Rachel, everyone at LoMap, and get the support that we all need and can use, whether you're in a big firm or you're a solo. I know as somebody who's been a solo basically for about 10 years, it's you often feel alone, but we are not as alone as I think we often feel. And so we have a lot of services. And for my friends tuning in from other states, I'm very fortunate, along with Laura, some of the work we do at the ABA, to be on committees with some amazing, we like to say PMAs, and it took me a while to know that lingo, but practice management advisors. They're an incredible group, incredibly supportive. So if you are barred outside of Massachusetts, I encourage you to check in with your state bar and talk to your local PMA or whatever equivalent lingo you use in your state and get some help. And sometimes a nice chat is well worth it. I used to say to LoMap, every year I get a physical with the doctor. We're all supposed to get a physical. Well, every year it's nice to get a tune-up in your law practice, even if it's just to have a talk about how things are going. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of those services. And again, thank you to LCL and LoMap for all that you do. So for those who do know me, probably know I love tech. And for those who don't know me, I really hope today, even if you get one practice pointer to help make your law practice a little bit easier, that would be my goal. In recognizing some of the advantages of tech, and it may be subtle and it may be a big scale change, but tech can really help you delegate and get through your to-do list and your work, and to save that precious commodity that we all have, which is time. We really need time. You're looking at somebody who's always saying, I wish I had a 27-hour day instead of a 24. And I'm sure everyone tuning in today feels that way, especially these days. But unfortunately, we can't make the days longer. If we could, when I figure it out, I'll let y'all know. And if anyone else does, call me, please. But until then, we have to work with what we have and the schedule we have and the energy we have. And so technology can really help us buy back some time. So we're going to dive into that. Please, I love a lively chat and conversations. Put your questions in. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us what kind of law you practice, I'd love to see who's here and engage with you. So please ask your questions. All questions are welcome. And if we don't get to them during this first half an hour, we will definitely touch on them in the second half an hour. And you're doing me a favor because I don't know if I'll go beyond 30 minutes. So help me out with your questions. Just kidding. I tend to go over time, but here we are. Okay. Email. Who can't stand your email, right? Put in the chat if your email is something you dread. It's something that just drives you absolutely crazy, right? I'm one. I've really done my best to figure out how to manage email, and it's tough. We all know about filters. So one thing I'd encourage you to think about is a lot of us are on listservs, all different types of listservs for bar associations, maybe different types of cases we're working on, practice specific listservs. Create rules in Gmail or whichever email provider you use so that those emails are filtered into a folder. You can also do this for that spam email we all get and can't stand. I know I get them every morning, someone trying to sell me their services. For some reason, they come in between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every day lately. And so I'm setting up a lot of filters so that it bypasses my inbox and goes right to either the trash or spam or archive, depending on what it is. So think about the email you're getting that you don't need to deal with immediately. And by immediately, I mean today. You could look at it in 3 days and the world's not on fire. That type of email, if you're feeling overwhelmed with your inbox, consider putting that email into a folder and creating rules. Next, I want to talk about snooze, which is the feature where email comes back to you. I don't want to deal with it now. I'll deal with it later. Throw that box in the closet and you can go through the junk later, right? How many of us have done that? So what I'd say about the snooze feature, I call it snooze because on the software I use, they use the term snooze, but you may have other names for it depending on what you use. Be thoughtful about how you use the snooze feature. So it's very easy, like I said, to just have it come back later and deal with it. But I've lately tried to be more thoughtful about how I use this feature. So instead of just saying, I'm too busy today, I'll deal with this tomorrow. Well, when tomorrow comes, it is not a great feeling when you have 20 emails just bombarding you at 9 a.m. or whenever you set it to come back. So think about, when will I actually be able to deal with this? And when do I need to deal with it? And be thoughtful about when you have it returned to you. Maybe if you get, give you an example, bills in your email that you need to pay, and you like to pay your bills on a Saturday. I mean, I hope you don't need to do that, but let's be real. It's often the reality for many of us. Have them come back on a Saturday. Why look at that on Thursday morning when you're about to walk into a trial? You don't need that clutter in your headspace. Maybe a better example, if you're trying to do some more social media, engage more on LinkedIn. We're often hearing that now. Market, social media. You got to do it now. Okay, where's the time? So maybe you like to do your social media on Friday morning because Friday is a lighter day for you. So all those notifications you're getting from LinkedIn, and there's a lot. Well, first, you're going to put them in a folder so they bypass your inbox and they don't clutter your inbox, which then clutters your headspace. Number two, maybe you snooze them or, archive them, snooze them until that day you choose to work on them. Okay. So that's just something to think about and be thoughtful about your inbox. I look at email as it's the roadmap of how you want to engage with yourself and specifically the outside world, right? And so do you want to be someone who responds to LinkedIn posts same day? Or do you like to do things in bulk? And once you figure that out, set these rules in your email in a way that works for you. Some people love to do social media in the evening or prefer to do it then or in the morning. So if that's what you like to do, create those rules and work around those. Finally, delegation, which will lead me into my last point. And I told you all I tend to run over, so I'm just checking my time, keep myself on track. I love to talk. I guess I picked the right profession. Um, Delegation, right? So you're saying, Emily, this is all great. I have no time for any of this. Well, this is when you get some help, and it's okay to get some help. And we're going to talk in a few minutes about remote work and leveraging remote work and the future of work. So I'm just putting a little pin in that for a moment. But in terms of email software to use for delegation, I use a product. I really, really like it. It's called Front. I have it right here on the slide. And Front does a lot. I could probably do a whole 30 minutes just on Front. And I don't use probably 80% of its features. It has a lot of integration, a lot of features. But one of the main features and draws to Front is email delegation. So have you ever received an email, maybe from a larger company, and you email Mary, who's your rep at a company, and a day later, John emails you back and says, hi, Suzanne, thanks for your email. Mary's out of the office today. I'm here to help. And you don't see that email forwarded. Well, what they're likely doing is tagging somebody in their team, in their office, and pushing that email over. So say in our world, if I get an email and it's something that I want my assistant to work on, I can tag her in the email. So I just do an @ sign and list her, and it shares with her. And then I can write notes. So maybe I don't have time to put in all the formalities of hope you're doing well, great to hear from you. And maybe you have someone in your office who knows you well enough that you can write in shorthand, right? And so I can say my assistant at this point can read through my shorthand and know what I want her to do. So if I say consult follow-up, she knows the protocol for that. So instead of me spending 5 minutes writing a lovely email to a potential new client, my assistant does that. And I'm delegating those emails in a way that's efficient and effective and friendly. So Front's a great feature. As I mentioned, it can do a lot. I'll just tell you what I use it for. I have my texts integrated into Front right now. So the back end is Twilio. Our texts go into Front. So if I get a text and email, I can delegate that through the same platform to my assistant. It also, I have it integrated with our product management software, which I'll talk about in a minute. So Front has more or less become our hub for communications. You can integrate it with WhatsApp. Just watch out because sometimes it's a little tricky, or you have to get a third-party add-on, and that's paid. It's an additional fee. Last I checked, I think it can be around $70 a month additional, but please double check. And there are a few options there. There's a lot you can do with it, a lot you can integrate, but I would say the basic 101 is being able to delegate your email and have a shared inbox without creating a bunch of rules or having to forward emails, which can get very clunky. It's also nice because it's very fast and easy for me to go into my assistant's email, but she knows I do. I'm not watching her. I am, checking on her, but it's more practical. She doesn't work the hours I work, which is wonderful. I don't want her, I want her to have some, great work-life balance and time off. For example, today she's not working. She works the new popular 4-day work week. So she chooses to take Wednesdays off. So on Wednesdays, I pop in her inbox just to make sure nothing's on fire and see how things are going. And then keep it moving. But I don't have to log in and do passwords and all that jazz. It's a couple clicks and I check on things and we're good to go. Superhuman's a product I used before Front. It's basically the concept is being able to navigate through your email without leaving your keyboard. There's this concept of clicks. So you don't want to have too many clicks because too many clicks equals too much time. And so the idea behind Superhuman, at least when I last used it a few years ago, is being able to get through your email very, very quickly. without having to use your mouse, and you learn shortcuts through your keyboard to get through email. It doesn't have the features, at least when I last used it, that Front does, but it was a great service for me when I did use it. And there are many out there. It's just a tasting of what I've used and recommend. And I don't, when it comes to software, I do not believe in one size fits all. There are some superstars in the field. There's some that maybe you don't want to use, but a majority of the time, there's something for everyone. It's just a question of your budget, what you need, what you want, and what you're comfortable with. Okay. Practice management software versus product management software. Just gonna take a quick moment. Laura, do we have any questions in the chat? By any chance? I can't see that at this point.
Yes, we do. We
Okay,
have a
great.
question wondering, does the Front product you mentioned work better with Gmail Worksuite or with Microsoft 365? Which one do you use, Emily?
Ooh, great question. I use Gmail. So I have it integrated with Gmail. I'm not sure if there's a difference between email providers. I wouldn't think so. I will say though, when I set it up, I remember I spent a while getting it set up because, and this is where I lose my tech expertise. I'm not trained as a computer engineer or software engineer. So for any of you on this webinar who have a software engineer background, you're going to see what I don't know right now. But my memory of it is when Google changed some of the security settings, where I think it had to do with OAuth authentication. Again, not my area. Green card and some legal tech. The rest, I get a little foggy. But I remember I had some trouble. And frankly, I was just impatient and excited to set it up over a weekend. And Front's customer support wasn't working over the weekend. So if I had just waited until Monday, they were able to help me in 5 minutes. But I was excited and I ended up figuring out myself. But it took me a few hours. So I would say to you, if you are going to set it up, maybe wait until their customer support's open or be patient or get a little help setting it up. But once you set it up, it's no problem. And their customer support's pretty good. Any other questions, Laura?
Yes, very quickly.
Sure.
The similar question wondering if Superman worked with both Gmail or Outlook. I will say too, for some of these, and apologies, I got a message in the chat that my sound is echoey, so I'm going to try to fix that in a moment. Usually, if you go to the product page, it will tell you too what it integrates with. Emily, over to you.
That's a great point, Laura. And if I'm having sound issues, please feel free to let me know. So yes, great point. I'm not sure off the top of my head again. I would always talk to them, right? Because unless it's obvious, like it's on their product page, or someone who's used it before, or a good amount of people on Reddit tell you it works. That's how I get some of my information these days. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. So why invest all this time and so say you get excited, you tell your staff, we're going to use this new tool, and then it doesn't work. That's very frustrating and a huge time loss. So I would talk to them first before you invest too much of your time and energy, just to make sure it's set up. But I can tell you, Gmail, G Suite, Front, no problem. And when I used Superhuman years ago, no problem. Any other questions? Okay.
Nope. Good to go.
Great. All right. So practice management versus product management software. So if any of you want to put in what you're using, I'd love to see it once I get a look at the chat. We can save that for a second half. But basically, I think what I always like to say is these terms, they seem like a lot. Do I use practice management software? Do I use product management software? What if I use both? Is there something that does both? Again, I would say identify what you need help with. What's the issue you're having? And then try and find software that will solve that issue. And that's doable. If you are a small law firm or a solo, I would not recommend that you implement Salesforce. Okay. I mean, you're not a major company with an IT department. If you want Salesforce, amazing. I would love to see it and talk to you, but um, that's a huge product, right? So you want to do something that's manageable for you, and also that is future proofed, which is a term I love, especially these days. So you want to use something that will carry you into the future once you do invest time and energy into setting it up. But generally, practice management software, we all know the classics: billing, calendar, client portal, tasks, usually some type of internal chat. And they're all a little different, all have their different features and bells and whistles. Product management software is kind of like your tasks feature in your practice management software, but it's has many more layers and many more features typically. Okay, I tend to find that practice management software is software that's used for lawyers, and product management software tends to be non-legal software. So your Asanas, Monday.com, I think Todoist, a lot of people like more as a to-do feature. I use Monday.com. I used to just use practice management software exclusively. I still use that software for limited purpose. I at one point started using Asana, which is a great software. Asana is great even for your personal life, to keep yourself organized. It's Asana. And then now I use Monday.com. Monday.com is not something, if you're going to do it, I love it. You either want to have a decent amount of time to set it up, a little bit of tech skill, or hire someone to set it up for you. The reason I love Monday.com is, it's what I like to say is it's my brain on software. I created it the way I think, and the way and it's also my law practice's brain on software. So the way we operate and the way we think and the way I think, but on software. It can do a lot. Just like Front, I'm not using all of the features intentionally, because again, the theme here is you don't want to get overwhelmed, right? And so I think there's this pressure for tech and AI in practical law, which I'm a big believer in. However, if you bite off more than you can chew, or more than you want to chew, what tends to happen, human beings tend to do, is give up. And so implementing just some sprinkles of tech enhancements in your practice can make a huge difference. And so that's why I say, if you want to look at a Monday.com type solution, it's great. Do it with some, be realistic about who's going to set it up and how much you will set up and how quickly you will set it up. And then also be realistic about how much you're going to use. I use it more, for me, it's kind of like a task list and Slack built into one. So for my staff, what ends up happening is I have different boards. So I have an active case board, closed case board, lead board, and then we each have our own boards. And so, and boards are just like, it's a space that you create however you want. And there's different views and different things you can do. So my assistant, I give her tasks to do for the day or the week, and they're coded, categorized by priority, by when it should be done. And within those tasks, that's how we communicate. So most of our communications around her work, as it should be. And so if we need to talk about something, it's connected to that task. So if she says to me, Emily, what should I put in the calendar for the due date for this client's 751, for all my immigration lawyer friends on this webinar? I'm going to tell her. But what happens if I can't tell her for 3 hours because I'm in consults, right? And I'm chatting that to her. She's probably going to lose that information or lose time looking for the answer. So if she asks me a question and I answer her and it's specific to that task she needs to do, once I respond, she can go back on it and go back to it, and complete the task once she has that information. And so that's one reason why I love using Monday for that purpose. They also just added a little discussion feature where you can have an actual just discussion that is not connected to a task or a specific item. So that's Monday.com. There's a lot it can do. There are certified folks out there who can set it up for you and talk to you about it in depth. They have a lot of great videos and trainings. They just did a conference in the fall that was really great. So you can check it out and see all the different options it provides. Any questions so far?
Yes, we do have a couple questions, Emily.
Okay.
So one of them was, what is the cost for someone to
Okay.
set up like a Monday.com?
Good question. I wish I could tell you I knew. I don't know. I'm sorry. I set mine up myself. So I don't know. Monday may have certified folks they work with. And I say certified. A lot of software companies, if you didn't know, they have consultants they work with, or they offer classes and trainings where if you take certain amount of classes, you're certified, just like any other profession. And so I would ask Monday if they have any Monday certified consultants, or see you can find if I know of any, feel free to reach out to me if I can. I don't know off the top of my head anyone who's in legal and setting up Monday, but I'm sure I can find someone, or I'll at least definitely try. Or I can try and walk you through what you're looking for and how much you want to do. I do know someone in the immigration space. It's coming to me now, who does do this. And I believe she sets it up for lawyers. So I'm happy to connect you with her. She's wonderful. I believe it's just for immigration lawyers, but I can check. So feel free, you'll see my email at the end. So feel free to reach out to me and see what we can help you come up with.
Excellent. And while we're on this, and then we'll switch
Mhm.
to your next subtopic, this person
Sure.
wondered, do you use a case management software, which case management, for people who don't know, is usually part of practice management, in addition to Monday.com? If yes, which one do you use? They're wondering.
Okay. Great question. Yes, I use my case. I've used my case since I started my practice. And it was really when I had my first client back this time, actually 10 years ago. I believe it was February 2014. I had my first client. So I said, once I have a client, I need case management. I often say practice management software. I use the terms interchangeably. Um, so my case is great. There's a lot out there. Clio, Filevine, and many other software, and some is practice specific. I'm still using it. I'm using it for a few reasons. Number one, I'm going through this big software transition. So I started this spring 2023, and I fully recognize it would take me years to transition. It is going faster than I expected. I'm happy to report. But I want to make it as easy as possible for my clients. And so, again, for my immigration lawyer friends, we all know so well, a lot of our cases take years, sometimes a decade. And so I have clients I've represented since 2015. And I don't think it's fair to them to just take the carpet out underneath them and switch them to all new software, especially when I spent years training them to be on my case. Please don't email me, use the portal. You're welcome to call, but I prefer use the portal. Use the portal, use the portal. And now I'm saying, don't use the portal, use something else. So I'm trying to be cognizant. And we'll talk about that in a minute, about the client and their transition. So basically, where we're at is my what I call legacy clients, the clients I've represented for years. I'm keeping most of them on my case. And then new clients, or clients that were newer when I transitioned, I'm I moved them over to my new software. But I was very, for my clients I did transition, I tried to be in tune with their feedback. So, I'd say to them, if this is frustrating for you, let me know, and I can move you back. And so far, people seem to really love the new software, which is great. That was my whole goal. Number two, I am using it for trust accounting. So, not to do a deep dive on billing, but just high level, as we all know, credit card fees cannot come out of your operating account. Excuse me, cannot come out of your trust account. Laura, let me know if I get an A on this. In Massachusetts, at least, if you are accepting funds that are placed in your IOLTA, with a credit card or electronic payment, any fees charged by the vendor cannot come out of your IOLTA account. They have to come out of your operating account because the IOLTA's client funds, right? How'd I do, Laura? Did I pass?
Emily, as always, you do great. That's right. So
Oh, you're
this is why
excellent.
if you do credit card processing through legal specific tools like a LawPay or others, then it's easier because they have the operating fee, the bank fees come out of the operating account and not out of the trust account.
Thank you, Laura. Perfect. She always can get those rules nice and concise for all of us. So I appreciate that. So that's one reason I'm using my case still. I don't do a lot of I don't accept a lot of funds into my IOLTA. It's 95%, and there goes my AirPod. So I still have one though. It's 95% USCIS filing fees for, again, immigration specific, but any government filing fees have to go into your IOLTA account. And so I hold them there until I send them to the government. Other than that, I'm 99% flat. So I don't use it for the most part for client funds. There are a few times, actually it just came up yesterday when I had a very unique situation and I decided after much thought to put the funds into my IOLTA. So for that reason, I'm still using my case. For everything else, I'm transitioning to a non-legal specific payment solution. I'm using Stripe right now. I'll talk about that in a minute. And for clients who have on payment plans who are using my case, if you're paying me through my case, you can continue to pay me on my case. My hope is in 3-4 years, all of those clients are either, their cases are finished, they have green cards or they're citizens, or at that point I can transition everybody in a delicate way. Finally, and something to just quickly think about on this topic is a lot of clients, I use texting through my case, and a lot of case management, practice management software, they have texting, the companies own the phone number. It's just something to think about, and I'm really big on. So if I leave my case, that number's floating around every once in a while, once a month or so, I get a text from someone that says, I'd like to hire you. I got your number, or just the standard message we all get. And if I lose that number, I could lose a lot of business. So it will take me years before I will transition out of my case. Now, I've always wondered if I could buy the number from my case. Last I spoke to them, and that was years ago, I didn't really, it sounded like it was a no. I probably could have pushed more. And that is a topic that I'm very passionate about because I do believe as lawyers, we should own our phone numbers. I do believe that probably a conversation for another day at a comms panel, but I do believe that our texting numbers will be more valuable in the future than our phone numbers. So hopefully your texting number is your phone number, or at least you own your texting number. So just some things to think about. I don't think it's anything to worry about today, but if you want to future-proof your firm, something to think about when you are shopping around before you buy. Anything else, Laura?
In the interest of time, why don't we go through
Sure,
the next segments and then we'll
sure.
get to some more questions at the end.
Absolutely. I wasn't kidding about my time management. Probably why I have so much software to keep me on task. Document automation. Okay. So big buzzword. We've heard a lot, AI, document automation. So I almost had this in the slide and then I took it out. I didn't know if it'd be too cheesy, but I love this. I love this expression. I used to say tech is your friend, right? And so now my new line, the 2024 version of that is document automation is your friend, or it should be your friend if it isn't already. So you may want to take it out for coffee and get to know it. Document automation can be a little intimidating. I've been there. When someone talked about document automation, and I said, I got real problems. I got to file this motion. I got to be in court tomorrow. I got clients. I don't have time for templates and all this stuff. All right. And so I get it. But if you can invest some time in setting up templates, I think the time will pay you back in dividends. And there's software that can help you with this. There's some software that's a standalone document automation software, and there's some software that does document automation and more. So basically, document automation is you take your standard, let's say client hires you. Let's use one I love actually, fee agreements for my Massachusetts lawyers. Fee agreements used to take me so long because, again, in immigration, our cases go on a long time, flat fee. I have to count for a lot of different scenarios. How many of us have our AR11 warning and our fee agreements and all that good stuff we put in there? And so they can be a huge time suck. And for staff, I found my staff was getting frustrated with creating fee agreements from Word every single time. So now what I do is I create what I call my model fee agreement. It's my template. And we plug it in. I don't want to go too deep here because again, the time, but there's ways you can create things. So you have, at least the software I use, I have a catalog of services with prices. And all I have to do now is we put in the client's name, email, address, and that populates on the fee agreement. I can then insert services from my catalog, insert signing fields, initials, etc. And with the software I use, it actually also links to a payment. So once the fee agreement is signed, the client's directed to a payment link and they can make their first deposit that way. Again, watch if you are an hourly attorney, watch out if you need to have that going into your IOLTA and use legal specific billing software. I use software called PandaDoc. I really like it. I've been using it a lot more lately. It has a new feature called Rooms, which is sort of replacing my client portal on my case. But for purposes of this conversation, I'll focus on the document automation and just say it is an investment up front. It's one of those things you do, what New Englanders like to call a winter project when you have a little bit more time, or if you can hire someone to help you build that out, but it will pay you back in time and insanity, I think. Any questions?
Yes, but we're gonna hold those till the end. So if you want to keep
Beautiful.
going.
And there's a lot of options out there. PandaDoc is just what I use, and there's some legal specific options as well. Okay, customer service and technology and meeting clients where they are. That's your recipe for success. So I think in the changing, let's take a quick little look here. Okay, and the changing models and what we're seeing, clients want customer service. And I think for me, when I first started practicing, I was just trying to make sure my cases were approved, I was staying in business, and I was compliant, right? I mean, that's a huge ask in of itself. And so it was really hard. I remember I had a client say to me, "Can you just ask me how I'm doing? Talk to me." I said, "I'm trying to help you be a citizen with some criminal history here." I'm like, I don't have time to talk to you about, your morning walk. But I realized that's what he wanted. Now, there's some reason here. We can't spend all day talking to our clients, but I think clients want to feel, particularly if you're dealing with consumers, on somewhat of a relationship with their lawyer, a closeness with the lawyer, trust. And again, I think if you have a trusting relationship with your client, it will pay you back in dividends. There's a lawyer I really like. Laura may know who he is. He's spoken at ABA Tech shows. Incredible. Changed my practice. And now here's my quick plug for ABA Tech Show middle of February. If you haven't registered, check it out. Registration's still open in Chicago. I believe Laura's speaking actually. So I think, did I see that right, Laura? Tech Show this year?
You are right. Yes.
All right. So you got to go because Laura's speaking. It's going to be great. So you can't go this year, next year, where a bunch of us are always there. So we'd love to see you. But he spoke at the first tech show I attended. And he said, I'm going to say who it is. If you have student loans issues, Stanley Tate, I think we know who he is. He's wonderful. I don't think he'd mind me mentioning him. And it's all compliments to him. And he told a story of how he gives clients cookies when they hire him. And he's like, when I onboard clients, I send them cookies. And then now they remember me as the cookie lawyer. I sent them a nice box of cookies with his logo on it. He works with this company in Nashville. It's a great company. And he said that really helped soften the relationship. And it changed the way I thought. I said, hold on a second. Maybe if I spend a little time talking to my clients and being a little bit more friendly, or caring, it will really help the experience for them and for me and my staff. Now, if you're saying to me, Emily, that sounds great. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to stop an eviction. I'm trying to do a jury trial. Well, you can create templates, right, in your email. If you use Front, there's templates to help you with that. So a lot of when I ever get direct emails for people who want to work with me, it's all templated. So people say, "Thank you for getting back to me so quickly, 8 o'clock on a Thursday." Well, it's a template. It from the email plugs in their name. I have all this lovely language I put in. And that goes out to them. And of course, if I don't mean it, I won't send it. I can change it. But 9 times out of 10, if I've been working all day and I only have 20 seconds to answer someone, or the energy to only take 20 seconds, it's all templated. I did it, I created it when I had energy, when my tank was full, right? And not when I was depleted at the end of the day. And so that high energy is translating to the client, even if I don't have it in that moment using a template. So that's where I think technology with customer service can really help. Finally, in terms of meeting clients where they are, we often hear, "Well, my client's not great with tech." Or I work with a community that, may not be very tech savvy, whether it's, well, there's a lot of factors there. And it can be anyone. So what I would say is see what your client can do. What do your clients use in their everyday life? I know in immigration, a lot of our clients use WhatsApp. I'm not endorsing WhatsApp, but that's just an example. Or they're communicating with their family abroad. So how are they communicating with their family? And can you implement the same technology in your practice in a way that is ethical, secure, and realistic to meet your clients where they are? And I'll go on to what I believe is our last slide before we get to questions. And my final, what I like to call fun slide, is the future is now. So I love the term legal futurist. I will credit Filevine for teaching me that term, the folks at Filevine. But, you know, the future, we're here. We hear about ChatGPT and AI taking over our jobs and all these changes. And I would just say again, I don't think our jobs are necessarily in jeopardy. I do think there will be changes. I do think the consumer model is changing. Consumers have access to a lot more information than they ever did. And so we need to do our best to work with them, but also work with the workforce. And so I'd encourage you, for those of you who do not have a remote practice, maybe you're 100% brick and mortar office, paper files. Okay. I'd love to talk to you and help you transition to, a little bit more paperless. Not because I think that's a lifestyle you have to subscribe to, but I do think it can help elevate your lifestyle and your sanity and efficiency. But also remote work options is what a lot of people want right now. We've heard it many times. We're in a post-COVID world. We were expected to show up at work and work 40 hours a week, 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, if you're a lawyer who works a lot, which I'm not encouraging, but it's a reality for a lot of us. And then all of a sudden we had to shut down on no notice, go home and operate in a totally different environment. And we did it because we're humans and, we're incredible and we're versatile, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And now we're back in person. So how can you find a balance to add in a little bit more remote work options for your staff, so that they can still keep that lifestyle they had during the pandemic that they had to get used to so drastically, while also operating in a post-pandemic world. And a lot of these tools should be able to help you do that more effectively and efficiently. And finally, firm culture. Culture is a term that I'm so happy we're hearing about more in the legal profession. I think it's much needed. I defer to the wonderful folks at LCL on this, because they're experts on well-being and lawyer wellness, et cetera. But I think having a healthy, firm culture is very important, and it's going to become more important as time goes on. Allowing your staff, lawyers, and yourself to work in a way that is not 24/7, 365. I'm not saying you should always be on, but in a way that allows you that if you're not feeling well, okay, if any of you want to zoom in on me, I'm just getting over a cold. And hopefully you can't tell, but if I look a little red, here we are. It's the real world. Um, I was able to do my best to work the last few days while I wasn't feeling well, because I'm remote, right? And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. But I know for myself, if I had to go somewhere the last few days, it would have been close to impossible and negligent. Could have made a lot of people sick potentially, right? And so I was able to work in my cocoon at home and still do what I was comfortable doing and able to do, and not having to come back to an exponential to-do list. So just some things to think about. A lot of this is, I think, common sense, but I just encourage you and say, I don't think there's one size fits all. There are a lot of different options, and just little tiny tweaks can make a huge difference. And with that, it's time for questions. And my favorite slide of them all, this is my buddy. Those who know me know that's my Papa Legal on my immigration law firm side, and on the Amara Innovation side, she's our VP of Client Happiness. And so if any of you have pets in your office, I'd love to know. But sometimes this is all we need to kind of live in the present more and bring down our blood pressure a little bit. So that's my buddy Bianca. And you can scan my QR code or go old school and email me or find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram too, but LinkedIn and emails a little bit more where I live. I'd love to connect with you. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I know you're all busy, so it means a lot you're here. Happy to take any questions.
Emily, thank you so much. This has been terrific. We appreciate you. We appreciate seeing Bianca and how you really bring your inspiration and creativity to everything. We've been having a lot of engagement in the chat and the Q&A. To reflect back on some, we had a number of people write in that they too hate email. We had a number of people write in that they also enjoy my case. Um, let's see, you've answered a lot of great questions. We've had people express interest in about the how automation for contracts has advanced. People have written in to echo what you said on that your clients can do more often than you think, that they've really become more progressive throughout the pandemic with having things online. People are writing in, thank you for your helpful tips. All right, to get to some more questions. Um, Someone wrote, the email applications sound great, but they're wondering about a concern existing with outside apps for legal reasons. For example, she's wondering if Gmail reads too much of your correspondence. I have some thoughts on that, but I'll kick it to you first, Emily.
My thoughts are whatever Laura says. Those are my no. I would just say I do. That is what I'm about to say, but I will say it. You're looking at somebody who I think I'm very risk averse, right? And I've had to work through that in my practice. And not to make this a session of how Emily survived practicing law for 10 years. I'll just quickly say, it's tough. I do know what I've always been taught, and I'll punt to Laura in 10 seconds is there's a certain expectation of industry standard and what's being used. I do think there's a difference on paid versions. So that's always something I go by, right? Without being a computer engineer person, is if I'm paying for it, they're probably not using my data, or at least as much, right? And many caveats there. But if something's free, nothing in life is free. So that's a time to consider the G Suite paid version, and talk to somebody, an ethics person, and also consider talking to maybe a cybersecurity person. And if you need someone, if you're in a certain industry like banking, where you have some extra regulations that we may not have in our space, I definitely encourage you to speak to someone there. And without further ado, Laura will give you the real answer that I can't give.
No, very, very well said, Emily. I concur with that. So if there's an option for a paid, a premium, a business version, go with that. If it's the free version, as Emily said, the free is usually that they are going to be culling some marketing material from you. So I would say for people who are worried that Google is spying on them, no, Google's not individually spying on people. That said, you still do want to have the Google Workspaces, the business plan, rather than the free version. If you have questions on this or anything else, you can always come and talk to us with free confidential consults. But yes, you want to read terms of service. You want to look at what industry norms are and go for the professional business versions.
And I will
Uh,
also say quickly, I am talking about non-legal specific software here um, as an option and that I'm using. But before you do that, I'd make sure you're really comfortable, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and talking to people and going to a lot of conferences, and I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to say. But I wouldn't just eeny, meeny, miny, mo and go outside of legal. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, at least within legal software, like the MyCase, Clios, Filevines, et cetera. They have been vetted, I believe, by bar associations, and a lot of PMAs know them in and out. So there's some advantage there, and I don't discount that.
Well said on all that, Emily. Our next question is they're wondering if ChatGPT, and for those who may be unfamiliar, ChatGPT is the most predominant product in generative AI, uses large language models, plays or will play a large role in document automation. They're very interested in this area.
Yeah, I'm not a ChatGPT person. I do use it. Actually, today it was wrong when I used it. I use it for a very limited purpose, which is um, I've been waiting to tell this story. Okay. So I think like a lot of us who are lawyers, I'm a perfectionist. I'm learning more about qualities that we think we only have as lawyers, but it ends up most of us have, which is what's drawn us to the profession and or helped us succeed. And so when I write something or post something, I have to read it 17 times, which is not great for my efficiency. And case in point, I sent an email out today for any of my friends from SOS tuning in to the listserv. I was reading that so many times to edit it, and I finally said, let's see what ChatGPT says. So a lot of times is obviously not confidential data. This is something I'm putting on Instagram, on my firm, my attorney account, or sending out to a listserv. So it's going to be public. If I'm concerned about errors, my perfectionism starts creeping in. I ask ChatGPT what it thinks, and it will tell me, oh, you made a mistake here. I'd add a comma, or you convey your point well. You're showing compassion. I like when it tells me that. So that's how I use it. And be careful. Like I said today, it told me I made a mistake, and actually it was wrong. And I told it was wrong, and it told me that I was right. So I had a conversation over coffee with ChatGPT this morning. Point is, I know there's a lot you can use it for. I'm not on that boat. I'm not saying I won't ever be, but that's where I'm at right now. And I'll punt to Laura. She may know a little bit more, a lot more than me on this.
Well said, Emily. I would say to really know the tools and what you want to use them for. So first of all, recognize that ChatGPT is a buzzword a lot of people are talking about, but does not cover all AI nor all of tech. So if you're interested in doc automation, I would first look for, as Emily said, tools that either can do document assembly or document automation as a standalone or built into other products. If you're looking at something like contracts and you do a lot of them, maybe you're looking at a contract lifecycle management product. For AI, generally, you want to be very wary because it can hallucinate cases. So there are some products, such as CoCounsel and others, that are working to have it directed to certain legal databases. So that way, it should limit the hallucinations. In general, I would say embrace tech, embrace emerging tech and the possibilities for it. But Chat GPT is not going to be the magic wand to solve everything. And if you are interested in advances in AI or document automation, you can always come and do a free confidential consult with us as well.
Fully agree with that. I fully agree with that. And in tech in general, it's so easy to get lean into the hype. Just think everyone needs to calm down for a second. And this is someone who loves tech, but there's a shiny object syndrome going on. I think in today's broader culture and legal and tech, and we're going to be okay. We've gone through major changes, and maybe this one's the biggest one, but the one before that was the biggest one. We'll get through it. And jumping into something with shiny object syndrome is not going to solve the problem. And we all, fall for it every once in a while, me included, and maybe more often than I'd like. But I would just take a minute and be intentional about it. And if you're seeing these buzzwords, maybe that's what they are, just buzzwords. And maybe there's something more, and you can figure that out on your own time, in your own terms, your own comfort level.
Excellent. And Emily, we got a question about my case.
Mhm.
So you noted that you use PandaDoc for your doc automation. They were also wondering if you do any automation or templates used within my case itself.
Yeah, whoever asked that question, thank you, because I'm glad you asked that, because I did want to mention a lot of, and I think Laura said this, a lot of case management, practice management software has document automation built in. It just may not be as robust, or it may not work at the same level potentially, or it may be an add-on. So I did use my case's document automation platform a few times. It didn't work for me. Um, Happy to talk to you about that more offline. But it was something, yes, I did play with. And I entered the room, and then I quietly and respectfully exited. That's me. Like I said, I'm also using PandaDoc for more than just document automation. So it's working for me. But I do know people who use the MyCase automation. I will say there's a lot of great Facebook groups. There's one in particular about MyCase. And so a lot of these topics are discussed. So I'd get help from people too who are using the software if you are hitting a roadblock.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, I think we have gone through all the questions. I want to thank everyone for their engagement. This has been excellent with your questions, with your feedback. I want to thank you for your time with us today. Emily, we're so excited to have it here for you. I'm going to mention that our next month's webinar for busy lawyers will continue with our cognitive decline series. So as you know, I mentioned webinar for busy lawyers. We switch around with topics, try to find a little bit for everyone with our audience. Emily, I want to kick it over to you for some closing thoughts on tech. And thank you again for all of your fantastic knowledge and being with us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Closing thoughts. All right. So again, thank you for coming. I know I can imagine you're all busy, and I appreciate it, because I'm there most of the time in terms of juggling a very long and expansive to-do list. But I appreciate you being there, just like being here, excuse me, just like it's important to prioritize your health. I think it's important to prioritize your firm's workflows, your own workflow and to-do list, and it will really help your sanity in the long term. My parting words are, what we've touched on today. I wouldn't, this is not an all or nothing game. Okay. This is not you have to be the best and have the most expensive product or the fanciest product. Every slight change, every slight enhancement, even an attempt that may fail, can make a big difference for you in the long term. So I wouldn't rush. I would go at your own comfort level. And if you need help, ask for help. Like I'll end like I started. There are a lot of resources out there. I think we often forget how many resources we have. And there's a lot of support. And this is a very supportive profession, I think, more than we may have time to realize. But there's help there. And I do believe, and I'll end with this, that we're not alone. This is being a lawyer is hard, and running a business is difficult. If you own your own practice and if you're generating business, it's very, very difficult. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's great to be creative and put your own spin on it. That's important to stay true to your authenticity, but it's okay to see what others are doing and rinse and repeat. And there's nothing wrong on that. So then you can focus on practicing law and not getting bogged down in some of these intricacies of tech. So, do the best you can, ask for help. I don't have to give the cliche, the turtle, is it the turtle wins the race? But, it's go at your own pace. And I'm still learning, I'm still changing. And some days I say, oh, I know I'm only using 20% of what Monday's capable of. And I take a minute and say, Emily, that's okay. That's okay. Don't have shiny object syndrome. Don't ignore what you need to get done, the heartbeat of your firm, because you're running around chasing something that you think you need to have. If it's working, that's great. And add on some tech sprinkles whenever you can. With that being said, I'd love to connect with you offline. Please reach out on LinkedIn, on email. I'll try not to send you a template in response, a little joke if you've been tuned in the whole time. And thank you again for your time. It's lovely to have you here. And Laura and LCL and LOMAP means the world to me. I've been a long-term watcher of your series and a learner of your series. So I really appreciate being here today.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, everyone. And just to note, too, we've got a couple of questions. Recordings will be sent out later. If you registered, it'll be also on demand on a website afterwards. And with that, have a fantastic afternoon, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.